You're listening to The Tales We Tell, a podcast about spooky stories, unsolved mysteries, and local lore. I'm your host, Hannah Parch.
And I'm Katy.
And Critter.
Oh, so sweet.
Welcome back.
Yep,
This is
definitely back.
Yep. This is Critter's second official... Well, this is his first official episode.
Regular season episode.
Regular season episode. So, be kind. Be gracious. If you hear some little baby noises in the background, it's because Katy has a baby. And we've known about it for a while. I only have one announcement, and it's not a real announcement. I know.
He might just talk the whole time.
That's fine. I really don't think it picked it up that much the last time he was here. Because I asked Jarek.
We'll see.
If anything,
he does talk a lot.
If anything, it's because you were holding him, I think, and he was closer to the mic. So maybe now that he's like on the floor. I know. We're gonna put up a little plexiglass thing right here so we can still see you and soundproof you. No, my announcement is that I finished that Yuba County 5 podcast I recommended. Holy shit. It's very good. And in like the second episode, I was like, well, here's a whole bunch of details that I didn't know. The one that baffled me the most, though, is the guy, Joseph, I think, Shone's the guy who said that who had a heart attack while he was pushing his car out of the whatever. Apparently, he's a super sketchy dude and is known for making up a lot of wild stories. And so they think he was definitely on the mountain, but they're like, there's no way he was up there to check the snow for like a skiing trip. They're like, this guy doesn't take his family skiing. But it was like he was there. So he didn't make up that part. I don't know. It was just, So everyone go listen.
Wasn't it something like each lie has a kernel of truth to it?
Yes. And everything, it's just like they go through everything and they go through all of these theories of what could have happened. And it's like for every theory, there's still like 2 or 3 details that don't make any sense at all. So anyway, we'll let Critter think on that.
It sounds like he has some thoughts.
I know, buddy. I have a lot of thoughts, too. And we'll talk about them, I promise. Sweet little angel child.
You jinxed it now.
I'm sorry. Demon banshee from hell. Yeah.
With tummy troubles.
With little tummy troubles, buddy. I have esophagus troubles. Oh, also, happy Pride Month.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. As of the day we're recording, not the day it comes out, but I had an awkward...
It'll still be Pride Month
it will be.
when it comes out.
And technically, June 1st was yesterday.
Yeah.
But today was my first day back at work for Pride Month, and so I wore my, like, rainbow earrings and...
Which is funny, because yesterday was my first day back at work, just in general.
Oh! Which was also...
It was rough. Not because it was Pride Month, but just because... I can totally be a working mom, but I can't do it at the same time.
Yeah.
I can be working and I can be a mom, but I cannot do
at the
both.
same time. Yeah.
I had to leave early today, especially since he was just so mad at me.
Well, maybe he's mad you went back to work.
He and his dad have something in common then. I'm sorry.
Well, today I thought I would mix it up a little bit and tell you about a haunted castle.
Ooh.
Yeah, super fun. So I'm going to tell you about Leap Castle, and it's spelled Leap, like L-E-A-P.
I think I've heard of this.
Have you heard of this? Okay.
I think so.
It kept sounding familiar, and I almost went back and checked because on a very recent episode of And That's Why We Drink, M covered, I think a haunted castle. It might have been a haunted mansion. And I was like, I'm not doing the same thing, am I? I'm pretty sure what they talked about was different, but I didn't go back and double check. But Leap Castle is located in Coolderry, Ireland, and it is known sometimes as the world's most haunted castle, which I feel like all castles are haunted, so
Yeah.
I can't imagine a castle scenario where bad shit didn't happen there, so.
Not like we have any, like, modern castles
I know.
that are being built today.
Like, I mean, our country is, like, 200 years old, so we don't have a lot to compare to. And that is a good perspective because Leap Castle was built sometime around 1250 AD by the O'Bannon clan. And the O'Bannons were under the O'Carroll clan. The O'Carrolls were like the ruling clan, I guess. Leap was built on the site of another ancient stone structure. And, oh, bless you. Oh, bless you. That's the cutest thing I've ever heard and seen. He's like startled by his own sneezes.
He does it a lot, though. It's really
so cute. So there's some evidence to suggest that the land had been... So there was a stone structure. Some people think it was used for like ritual purposes. But there is evidence to suggest that the land has been consistently occupied since at least the Stone Age, which is 500 BC. And I read something... There's a lot of this stuff that I'm like... I'm just going to say allegedly a lot because I don't know how true any of this is.
Well, that's the problem when you get with...
I know.
Telling stories that, like, predate written history.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like, well-documented history.
Yeah. And there's a lot of lore anyways around it. But one thing I read was that there were two members of this clan who were fighting for leadership or whatever. And they had to show some feat of strength or bravery or something. And so they both, like, jumped off this cliff that was, like, on the piece of land, and whoever survived got to be the leader. And
so whoever goes second.
And so they were like, and so the castle was built on, like, a land that was already, like, tainted with, like, blood and violence and stuff. So, whatever.
Bad juju.
Bad juju. In 1513, the Earl of Kildare, Gerald Fitzgerald, which, solid name, tried to seize the castle, but he was unsuccessful. And then he tried again in 1516 and was able to partially demolish part of it, which is a redundant sentence, I realized now that I said it. He was able to partially demolish it. And at some point, the O'Carrolls regained control. One source I read said 1557, but I feel like it was sooner than that. Critter also thinks it was sooner than that. Everyone comments and just confirm to Katy that these are the cutest sounds you've ever heard, because she's acting embarrassed by them, but...
Well, these aren't the cute ones, though.
Yes, they are, because he's being cute while he's making them.
These are his goofy noises. The cute ones are very different. Just ask my dad.
He's just being goofy.
Well, these are his weird grunts that he started doing. And he'll do it with you, like a call and response. So, like, he'll grunt and you go... See, that was a cute one.
I know.
Ah. Ooh, ah.
Your baby's intelligent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is a sign of intelligence for sure.
He's only three months, yeah.
Can we get back to the story
sorry,
now,
I'm distracted by how cute he is. So, one source said the O'Carrolls regained control in 1557. I think it was sooner than that because my next point and the next, like, piece of history I could find was in 1532. Mulrooney O'Carroll, which was the leader of the clan, died, and then this rivalry broke out within the family over who was going to take control. So I don't know. I think it was a typo. I might be wrong. During this time, one of the members of the clan, whose name I think is pronounced Teague, it's Teighe, or Tig?
It might be Tig.
Tig. That sounds more Irish, I guess.
Yeah.
Tig.
See, I was going to say, too, I'm like, I cannot help with Irish pronunciations.
It's not.
There's a guy on Instagram, I guess he's on TikTok, Teaching with Tig, but his name looks like Teaching with Tad, or Tad, whatever.
Gosh.
But it's Tadgh, I think.
And it's pronounced what?
Tig.
Tig.
I think.
Oh, Lord. Is he Irish?
Yeah.
Oh. Maybe I'll look him up.
He's adorable.
Oh, okay. I love adorable Irishmen.
Mm-hmm. Just a silly, goofy science teacher.
Silly and goofy, just like your child. Just like your son and his goofy noises. So
you're doing great. I love you, Critter.
Yeah, he is doing great. So Tig O'Carroll, one of the guys, and I have seen in more than one place that he only had one eye, so I'm gonna call him One-Eyed Tig. And one eye of the Tig.
Yeah.
Okay. I could have planned that much better. So Tig.
That's why he's Tig and not Tig.
Yeah. So Tig murdered his brother Thaddeus. Thaddeus was a priest, and he was in the middle of giving mass, or like performing mass, leading mass.
Yeah.
I don't know how mass works.
It doesn't. It just goes on forever.
Okay, so he was
until finally we all get to leave.
He was at the head of the church performing something that had to do with mass to the family. And Tig burst into the chapel and stabbed him. And Thaddeus fell across the altar, I assume, in a very dramatic fashion. And
hella biblical.
Right? Like, right on the altar.
Major Cain and Abel flashbacks there.
Props to him. And he died. And so,
say.
Yeah, he did. So, obviously, the chapel became known as the Bloody Chapel. Critter, this would have been perfect for last week when Caressa was here. Yeah, I know, because she would love to just sit here and watch you coo.
I love it.
I mean, I do too.
Look at that tongue, too. Tongue is just going crazy.
So, also while under the control of the O'Carrolls, so they would sometimes hire members of another clan, and I'm gonna guess at the pronunciation McMahon?
I would go with
McMahon? Okay, that's probably safe. So they would hire the McMahons as mercenaries, or I also read sometimes to train their own men in different warfare tactics. And apparently, on more than one occasion, the O'Carrolls invited the McMahons over for a feast to celebrate a victory, and decided they didn't want to pay for the mercenary services, so they kind of red weddinged them. And I don't think they locked the doors and like stabbed everyone. I think they either poisoned them or like waited till they were asleep and then killed them.
So they Trojan horsed them, not red weddinged.
Wait.
I mean, in a sense,
sort of, yeah.
Like it was not the sneak attack part of it, but I mean, yeah, kind of the sneak attack.
I was thinking like invited over for a feast and pretended everything was wonderful. I don't know. I assume Walter Frey was one of the O'Carrolls. In 1659, the castle passed through marriage to the Darby family. And in 1889, this is important for later, Mildred Millie Dill, who was 20, married Jonathan Charles Darby, who was 35, and apparently a dick. And she moved into the castle with him. And I assume she, like, had some kind of title. And then around 1922, Jonathan decided it was time to do some renovations and expand the castle and, you know, I don't know, be fancy. During these renovations, workers found an oubliette, which is basically a secret dungeon that is accessed by a trapdoor.
I actually knew that one.
Oh, good. This is the one pronunciation I'm, like, very confident about, too. And this...
Critter's proud of you.
Thank you. This oubliette was hidden behind a wall in the Bloody Chapel. So originally it would have been used possibly to... Which I don't believe this, because I'm like, it's a dungeon. They said it would have been used to store valuables or to hide during some kind of siege. But inside, as proof that they didn't use it that way, they found a whole bunch of skeletons.
Well, maybe they hid so well.
They
nobody could find them to be like, hey, coast is clear.
Yeah.
Come on out.
So I also read some of, like, one source says that the skeletons were all found, like, like there were spikes at the bottom, and they were all found like impaled. And there's not an exact number of how many full bodies there were, but it was this is an exact metric here, 3 cartloads of bones. So,
all right,
whatever that means, however big of a cart you're imagining in your head, 3 of those. So presumably the O'Carrolls would...
So probably at least like 5 or 6 cartloads of like bodies. If, when you add all the stuff back in, you should just imagine it.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what I thought you
add
were
all
going
the
with.
red stuff back in.
All the meat.
Yeah.
Gross. So apparently, or presumably, the O'Carrolls would throw their enemies down this hole and just let them die. And a fun fact is that the word oubliette comes from the French word oubliez, which means to forget. So you throw them down there
and forget about them.
Forget about them until 1922, when someone finally discovers it. So they're doing these renovations to the castle. They're expanding. And you might think, oh, the Darbys probably have all this money that they can use, that they probably earned free, like, fairly, and...
Well, they have a castle,
right? So, like, obviously they're using their own savings to pay for this.
Through taxes. That's how they get their income.
Yeah, so Jonathan decided to raise the rent for a bunch of his tenants to pay for this, which is probably the reason a bunch of tenants got really mad and started to lash out. So there was one instant, I think there was actually a couple instances where their garden, the Darby's garden, was destroyed overnight. There was at least one instance where shots were fired through the window. And meanwhile, the Irish Civil War is happening. So lots of unrest in the country.
Upheaval.
Yes. And so Jonathan and Millie fled the castle during this time and went to stay with their daughter in Longford, which I don't know where that is. Not important. But before they left, Jonathan apparently hid the family treasure somewhere on the castle grounds, obviously. And he had 2 servants who helped him. And I know, this is really exciting part. After they helped him hide this treasure, he had them murdered to ensure their silence.
Yep.
And
dead men don't tell tales.
And then later, Jonathan forgot where he hid the treasure. So
man, it would have been nice to keep at least one of them, right? Just in case you forget.
I hope that those servants, as they died, were like, "You're gonna forget where you hid this shit, and I'm not gonna be here to tell you about it."
I mean, I forget where I put things all the time.
Well, your important things like your child are here. I
haven't forgotten him yet. Yet.
So theoretically, there's, as any castle I think should have, there's like a lost treasure somewhere.
I like it.
And on July 30th of that same year, 11 men broke into the castle, smashed all the furniture into firewood, and set the castle on fire.
Nice.
And that did destroy, like, most of it. In 1974, an Australian historian named Peter Bartlett purchased the ruins of the castle and began working on restoring it to its former glory. And he worked on this until his death in 1989. And then...
that's when I was born.
See? Coincidence?
I think not.
I think not. So...
maybe I'm the reincarnation of this guy.
Well, so then in 1991, it was purchased by a musician named Sean Ryan. And here's the weird thing. If you Google Sean Ryan, Irish musician, there's a Wikipedia page about an Irish fiddler. And, like, they specified it's this guy, Sean Ryan, and his wife, Anne. And this Wikipedia page is for this Irish fiddler named Sean Ryan who had a wife named Anne. That guy died in, like, 1987. And his wife died in, like, 1957. I know that the guy who owns the castle is still alive. I cannot for the life of me figure out who he is.
He was born 2 days after me.
Oh. The dead one, right? The dead Sean Ryan?
No, the alive Sean Ryan.
Well, how did you find him? Oh, well, it's not him.
Okay.
Sorry. This guy's old. I mean, he's got like he looks like someone who lives in a castle. He's got like a beard and everything. Google Sean Ryan Leap Castle. Okay, here's the thing. The picture on the right, I'm pretty sure that's, that looks like the guy who owns the castle. And I cannot for the life of me, I don't know if it's his son and then he happened to also name someone or marry someone named Anne. I'm very confused, and I feel like there's...
So this guy apparently died in 85.
Yes. And this guy bought the castle in 91 and is still alive today, or as of 2 years ago. So I don't know what's going on. If someone knows if the alive Sean Ryan is just not as famous and that's why I can't find him,
maybe.
I don't know. Okay. So that's the history. And now I'm going to tell you about the hauntings.
It's a good stuff, critter.
Yeah. So pay attention. All right. So, remember Millie?
Yeah.
The wife.
Millie.
So, she was also a fairly accomplished author. And she used the pen name that's not right. Andrew Mary. And she published a number of short stories and novels, including in 1898, a short story called A House of Horrors, which many believe, for various reasons, is based on her experiences at Leap Castle. It's definitely fiction, and names have been changed. It is perhaps a little bit dramatized, but there's some evidence to believe that she wrote this based on Leap Castle and to include some of her own experiences.
It just took a poetic license.
Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of spirits, but the most sinister that Millie encountered is one that she calls the Elemental. She also calls
ominous.
it... I know, right? She also calls it the Thing, and she also refers to it as it. This is how she describes it. This is a quote. The Thing was about the size of a sheep. Thin, gaunt, shadowy. Its face was human, to be more accurate, inhuman. Which
That's less accurate.
Less accurate, but whatever. Its lust in its eyes, which seemed half decomposed in black cavities, stared into mine. The horrible smell, 100 times intensified, came up into my face, giving me a deadly nausea. It was the smell of a decomposing corpse. So there's that nice thing that lives there.
Cool. I wonder if a sheep just accidentally found a decomposing corpse and got it stuck on him somehow.
Do you know, it makes me think of, have you seen that, it's like a sheep that was born with, a human face or something?
No.
And it's like a weirdly...
It's something you'd find on, the National Enquirer.
Yeah, and it was something that, it was just like a, I don't know, a bad birth defect. And, the sheep didn't live, but wherever it was born, they, paraded the body through the town and, whatever.
Yeah.
That's what it makes me think of, is, a weird human... Although all she says is it's the size of a sheep, not... It looks anything like a sheep. There was also some sources that said the elemental lives in the oubliette. Of course it would. Why not? The last time that Millie encountered the elemental was in 1915, and she described the instance in a letter to a friend. So Millie and Jonathan were getting dressed for dinner, as one does, and they heard a loud yell from the hallway from their servants. So they both run out to see what it was, and both Millie and Jonathan see the elemental in the gallery, quote, leaning with, another air quote, hands, resting on its rail, which I really wish she'd been more descriptive about the hands, because I want to know what they look like. So Jonathan, who we have already determined is a dick, sees this demonic thing and gets mad at Millie and starts accusing her of having someone dress up in a costume to scare him. And while he's yelling at Millie, she's like watching behind him this demon
Freaking
thing.
out.
And it just slowly disappears. And Jonathan refused, he refused to believe anything other than it was a prank. And he didn't question, like, what had caused the scream to begin with. He was just, like, so dead set on, my wife is trying to play a prank on me and make me look stupid. So.
Meanwhile, I'm casting lots of glances out the door
I
to
know.
make sure there's no Jarrett coming by.
And then the next day, 2 of their servants gave Millie letters stating that they immediately needed to return home to visit their families, and then they never came back. Which, same. If I worked in that house, or that castle, I'd be like, I need to go home for corn shucking season, and just I'll do that thing I always say at work when it gets when it's like a really fucking bad day, or if I like mess something up really bad, I'd be like, I'm just gonna get in my car and drive home, and as I'm driving home, I'm just gonna be deleting and blocking everyone in my phone who I work with, and you guys will never hear from me again. And that's how I'll end it. So that's the elemental. So the Bloody Chapel, not shockingly, has some ghosts.
Better be. With a name like the Bloody Chapel.
Right? What if that was all it was just a name, and they're like, oh, actually nothing weird happens
Epic disappointment.
here. So from the outside, people will see bright lights coming from the upper windows of the chapel. And this was seen by people, like, when the Darbys were staying there. I know, it's so bad. And people today have even called the Ryans to tell them, like, there's some lights coming from the upper windows of your chapel.
Do they just assume that maybe it's like vagrants or squatters or something, like camping out in there?
I don't know, because they made it sound like it's only coming out of the top windows, and, like, I don't know. I'm also imagining, I'm like, well, maybe there's just, like a Beauty and the Beast moment there, like, every now and then, and, like, some peasant girl has learned to love, like, a beast, and he's transforming back into a prince. Or maybe it's the ghost of them, and they're just reliving,
Maybe.
Periodically. The O'Carroll priest, Thaddeus, he has been seen on the staircase, and also leaving the chapel and going through the western door. People have reported smelling rubber inside the chapel, which
was weird.
I don't know who's, like, doing donuts in there.
Yeah. I mean, sulfur or something, I get.
Yeah.
Or, like, other, like, natural smells, sure, but there's nothing natural about rubber.
What if the elemental is, like, not a real demon, and so he can't make the sulfur smell, so he's just, like, going with another foul smell?
This is something that's also recognizable.
Rubber.
And will stand out.
He's like, I'm going to be known for something. So, in the oubliette, Ryan has said that he has seen, quote, a man who seems to live in the oubliette, which, troubling for many reasons.
Is it the elemental's roommate?
I don't know. So, this one source said a man, and then another source said, like, a skeletal figure. Some people have said it's a man. Some people have said it's, like, a skeletal figure. Some people said it's the elemental. Who knows? Oh, the important thing. Whatever it is, sometimes leaves the oubliette and leaves the chapel and just wanders around in the castle.
Get bored of haunting the same place for hundreds of years.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really goes down there.
What's the point in living in a castle if you can't go explore?
Right? I will say there's a ghost... so Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures both went there. And I started to watch the Ghost Adventures episode. It's so silly. Like, it's hard to get through. But one of the guys goes down into the oubliette and is like, I'm just going to hang out down here. Because, of course, why not? And he does capture an audio...
disturbance. Like this audio disturbance.
He captures an audio of a woman screaming It almost sounds like it's somewhere else in the castle, but it sounds like it's a very distinctive scream. It was a little freaky. So some people think that the act of removing all of the bodies from down there awakened a bunch of spirits within the castle, including the elemental, which I think makes sense.
Sure, yeah.
So there's also the priest's house, which is a small building kind of adjacent to the castle, I guess where the priest lived, or a priest lived. And most recently, there have been shadowy figures that have been seen there. But during the Darby's time, Millie would describe something heavy that lays on people's beds and possibly on top of them and then snores. Which...
sounds like a cat.
Yeah, or like a dog or a husband. Like,
yeah.
Are we sure it's not one of those? A burly, peasant-looking man has been seen pushing a barrel up the back stairs. And a monk was seen walking in at one of the windows and out another window. Which I don't know if that means he's like walking through the walls at a window. I don't know what it means. There's a monk hanging out there too. But notably, there hasn't been a ton of activity in that location since the fire. There's also somewhere called the Murder Hole Room.
Nice.
And no idea.
Maybe it wants to be friends with the murder cabin.
Or with the Bloody Chapel.
Yeah.
So, there's like no clear information about where it's located. Or if there's an actual murder hole in it. The anecdote I'm about to tell implies that it was a bedroom of some kind. So this is another story from Millie. She says she was sleeping in there, hence why I think it was a bedroom. And she reached her hand out and called for her dog, whose name was Nell. And of course, I immediately thought of that urban legend where the girl reaches down. Mm-hmm. Not quite
That's where my brain was.
Not quite that bad. But she reaches out, and instead of her dog, a cold hand grabs her hand and just holds it for a minute. And then when it lets go, she says that there was the sound of, quote, a heavy sliding fall, like the collapse of a large body at the foot of the bed, followed by, quote, a deep human groan, and a voice that seemed to be mumbling prayers. Which, I don't like any of that.
I would have noped the fuck out of there so fast. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Can you imagine just like laying awake at night and just hearing like disembodied prayers being like, ugh.
Bad chills.
I'm also just thinking of like, oh God, what can like spirits pray from the... Okay. Stop it. There's also allegedly a blood stain on the floor that, like, no matter how many times you clean it, it keeps coming back. And one account that I read was like, oh yeah, it's from where the priest was killed. And I was like, well, no, that's
in the altar.
Bloody Chapel. Yeah, like, that's a different room unless there's another priest that was killed that we just don't talk about. So, there is, as always, a cliche ghost, the Red Lady. Who, can you guess what she looks like?
She dressed in red?
She's dressed in red. She's a tall woman in a red dress carrying a dagger over her head. So she is said to have a light that radiates from her. And when you see her, a coldness enters...
Like a red light district? Kind of light?
Yeah.
That kind of red lady?
No, there's another one of those coming up.
Awesome. It's not a good haunting story if you don't have a ghostly prostitute.
Well, they make her sound like she's, like, glowing. Like, her skin kind of glows a little bit.
The red lady. Her aura.
Her aura, yeah. So when you see her, a coldness will enter the room and also your heart. Legend says that she was a woman who was kidnapped and raped by the O'Carrolls, and she became pregnant, but the O'Carrolls took her baby and killed it. And then she killed herself in grief and used the same knife that was used to kill her baby, which is why she carries the knife around, I guess.
Brutal.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, what a memory to hold on to. There are also Emily and Charlotte, who are two young girls seen playing in the main hall and running up and down the stairs. They're thought to be from the 1600s. Emily allegedly was an 11-year-old little girl who died when she fell off one of the battlements. And visitors to the castle have seen a girl falling from the roof, but then she disappears before she hits the ground. Which, I was like, if you see a child fall from the roof, I feel like you should kind of panic a little bit. But then I guess maybe if she disappears before she hits the ground, it's like, I guess that was a ghost and I shouldn't call
don't worry.
Ireland's version of 911. The only thing that I could find about Charlotte, which this is so sad, I wish there were more stories about her, is that she has what they call a, quote, deformed leg that she drags behind her. So, someone give
like
Charlotte...
clubfoot kind of a thing?
Yes. I mean, presumably she can still, like, kind of run around and play. I guess she just has maybe a limp. But someone find out Charlotte's backstory, please, and let us know, because... Well, and Emily's, I guess. All she has is falling off the roof. There is a account from Millie about seeing a young girl who didn't really do anything. A lot of the ghosts Millie sees don't really do much. They just appear. So then we have the murdered woman, which... clever name. And this is the one who is scantily clad, and she has a red cloth over her face. The one quote I have about her is, she screams loudly twice and disappears. So, creature of habit, I guess.
She makes herself known, at least.
I mean, she's like, I'll scream twice for get the fuck out, and once for, I don't know. Millie wrote, and I'm not sure if this was one of her, like, fictitious accounts, but she wrote about seeing a woman walk past her on the stairs, jump out the window, scream, and then hit the ground. Or, like, she heard something hit the ground.
It seems like the correct order of operations for something like that.
Yeah. Again...
I think I would...
Are you sure it's a good...
I don't know. It might be more fun to, like, hit the ground, then jump out the window and scream.
Yeah.
Or, you know...
I like to,
maybe jump out the window, hit the ground, and then scream.
I like hitting the ground first, because it gets that out of the way.
Probably would scream and then jump out the window and then hit the ground.
For dramatic effect.
Yeah.
Screaming as you run to the window.
Alright. Next step. Window.
Next step. That sounds like a Tosh sketch. So allegedly this woman was a lover of possibly two of the O'Carroll brothers, and they were fighting over her. Somehow she was the one who ended up being chased down a hallway and stabbed.
Yep.
And
cut the baby in half kind of a situation.
Yeah, you know, just if I can't have her, none of us can have her. I don't know. And Ryan, the current owner, has reported hearing a woman screaming in the castle, and also that one guy on Ghost Adventures heard the screaming. That episode, by the way, is very confusing because it's like a Halloween episode, and it's like they just went to Ireland and picked like 8 of the most haunted places and investigated them all at once. So I was trying to watch. I was like, oh, I'll just watch the segment on Lep Castle, but it kept cutting back and forth, and like Lep Castle is happening, and then I don't know if you watched the show. It's very silly. So that's happening with some guys I've never heard of, and then Zach, the crazy one, and Aaron, the one who always gets sent to the crazy places, they're somewhere else. Aaron gets his ear like pulled by the fucking devil, and like it's hilarious because they're just like bro, oh my god, bro. And then he's like crying, and they're like, guys, Aaron was crying the whole time, like it was really bad, and he's like, I feel like the devil just touched me, and it's very silly.
Even Critter just furrowed his brow at that, like,
I was gonna watch I was gonna watch it last night, and then I got like 5 minutes in, and I was like, I can't do this fucking show. It's so stupid. And so then, while I was eating my ice cream to calm my heartburn before you got here, I was like, oh, maybe I'll try to finish that segment of the episode real quick. And I watched maybe 20 minutes, and it was all over the place. Couldn't tell you anything else that happened. I know a woman screamed in the castle at some point. Okay, so finally we have the most nondescript ghosts, the governess and the old man. The governess is just a lady who is sometimes seen with Emily and Charlotte. And
it makes sense for a governess to be with young charges.
You know. Some visitors, I don't know why this is attributed to her, but some visitors have reported being brushed past by an unseen presence, which I love that happens and they're like, fucking governess. And then 2 guests of the Ryans, while they were visiting, reported seeing a, quote, proud lady in Victorian attire. That's the governess, and then for some reason she's lumped in with the old man. And he is just a guy who has been seen sitting by the fireplace in the main hall, just chilling out.
Just living his life.
Which, when they don't have any, like, distinctive characteristics, I'm like, how do you know it wasn't just, like, a regular person just hanging out by the fire?
I guess it has to come from multiple accounts describing more or less the same thing.
Oh. And
also an account of, like, there's absolutely no way there was just a regular dude just chilling by the fireplace.
Yeah. Although, if I ever visit, I'm going to put on, like, a Victorian nightgown and, like, just walk around aimlessly and pretend I don't notice anyone else.
I think I'm going to be scantily clad and just scream a lot.
Oh, can you put a red rag over your face or whatever?
That sounds great, yeah.
Perfect.
Because then they won't be able to ID me when they take me for the lineup.
There you go. There is a description from Millie about the man. It says, there's a little old man with a green cutaway coat, knee breeches, and bright shoe buckles, holding a leather bag in his hand. Sometimes seen with a little old woman with skinny hands, long black mitts, old-fashioned dress, and a big headdress. Both are sometimes...
Sounds like a doctor and a nurse.
Oh.
With, like, the leather bag.
Yeah, let's see. An old woman with skinny hands. Famously, nurses have skinny hands.
I would never make it as a nurse.
She says, both are sometimes seen with an old man, there's so many, dressed like a priest with an intensely cunning face. And then it says, the green old man tries to stop people. I don't know what that means. Old Greg? The green old man trying to stop people. I mean, that tracks, actually.
Sure, yeah.
So since the property is privately owned, you can't, it's not like you can't, like, buy tickets and, like, stay overnight.
There's no tours.
But, according to a 2019 article on Trip Savvy, the Ryans are pretty nice, friendly people. And they're usually very happy to let visitors, take self-guided tours.
Do they currently live there, or do they just... Okay.
I think they live there. My understanding is that they have, like, their private living quarters that are probably a little nicer, and then the
rest of the castle.
Yeah. So this is what Trip Savvy says. In order to visit Lep Castle, it is best to be in touch with Sean directly via email to communicate availability and the best time to stop by. Please note that there is a €6 donation requested in order to support the upkeep of the unique castle home. I don't know how you're supposed to email Sean because they don't include his email. But
you gotta work for it.
€6 is not bad.
No.
And I did read a review that was like he was super nice. You just pull up and park. He is happy to tell you, like, everything he knows about it. And then he'll take you up to, like, the towers or whatever, and just let you, like, he'll give you a flashlight and just let you, like, explore.
Go wander.
So, if we ever go to Ireland...
I was supposed to go to Ireland and Scotland in 2020, but then...
Oh, that's weird. Why didn't you go?
This weird thing happened. There was some sort of medical thing. I don't know, kind of like a bad bug going around.
Did you have a cold or something?
And I didn't then. I waited until I was 8 months pregnant to get it, but...
Oh, fun. Well, if we do make it over there, we'll find Sean's.
Add it to the bucket list or the travel road trip list.
We'll find. Oh yeah, take a drink. And that's all I have for Lep Castle.
Excellent.
I have a note that it's on Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures, but I already said that. They're not. The Ghost Adventures is not a good episode. I haven't tried Ghost Hunters yet. I thought about watching it and just skipping to the end where they just review all the evidence. Because that's like where the good stuff comes in anyways. Yeah. But yeah, that's a haunting we haven't done in a hot minute.
Yeah, I love hauntings.
Critter's first official, regular episode.
I do apologize for it being a little rushed because of Critter, but
guys, if you could see how cute this baby is,
he fell asleep.
So cute.
And babies are cute when they're asleep and not making noise or screaming.
He was cute when he was making noise.
That too, but
he
just did you see that? He totally just flipped Hannah the bird.
Oh, I didn't see it. It's okay. You didn't mean it.
It was a distinct.
It's okay. Tolliver's done that a bunch.
Oh, yeah. That's just like a baby thing, I think.
It's like that middle finger just...
That middle finger just always up.
I know, little buddy.
I know.
I know.
Keep getting nervous. He's going to fling his head over to that corner.
Don't do that, please. Poor
All right. So our socials real quick while he wakes up and before he starts fussing too much. You can find us on the Instagram and Facebook at the Tales We Tell podcast. If you want to see our pictures and such, but don't do the social media, you can check out our website at thetaleswetellpodcast.com. If you want to support us and get yourself some sweet, sweet swag, like some pillowcases and t-shirts and stickers and whatnot, you can go to redbubble.com, search The Tales We Tell. And if you want to support us and you don't need the stuff, but you still might like some love notes and stickers and a little bit of bonus content, you can become a patron at patreon.com. Search The Tales We Tell.
Yep.
Thanks, Critter.
Oh, thank you guys for listening. Thanks for putting up with goofy baby sounds.
Yeah, sorry about that. Babysitter was working tonight. AKA Dad.
But we will be back next week sometime. I don't know. All right. See you guys later. Bye.